What's good, everybody?
All good.
Oh, very good, very good.
Okay, hi and welcome to this special recording of the Skate of Mind pod for Camberwell Arts Festival. The theme is Inside Out, so it's about not just getting out of lockdown, but also about expressing yourself through creativity. That's why we're collabing for this one. And in the room we have myself, Craig Jiggy. I don't know to which side, but yeah, on my screen it's Lolly is to my left. Ashley's down in the middle now. And Amy, who just disappeared,
Is
and is
Amy.
back.
Amy.
Yeah.
Amy.
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 Amie.
Yes.
Me.
Amy.
Yeah.
Me. Cool. Everybody's good. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lolly, you want to
Thank you.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Lolly. I have been doing recordings of Skate of Mind pod with Craig over the last, I don't know how many months now, because we did a bit of COVID cinema before that, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we're being quite silly, but yeah, it's been really nice to have another way of thinking about skating, talking about skating, when we haven't necessarily been able to spend time with lots of people. I certainly haven't. I was isolating quite a lot during lockdown. So coming back out of lockdown has been quite strange. So this has been a really lovely link, thinking about mental health and well-being. So that's me, Lolly.
Who wants to go next?
I can go next if you want. Ashley, you want to go?
No. Go, Amy, go.
I'm basically just a novice skater. I started predominantly when COVID hit. So I think we're otherwise known as Corona rollers. The pros.
Lockdown skaters.
I'm telling you.
Or
But I don't
pandemic
mind.
skaters in America, I believe.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh God. I picked it up because my friends mentioned it, because it was, we used to do like go to the gym together. We're like, oh my God, all the gyms are closed. What are we gonna do now? I went back to running, do my 5Ks, and then my knees started acting up, going up the hills and stuff. And she said, oh, why don't you try skating? I laughed her off. I'm like, yeah, right, my age, are you kidding me? And she said, no, seriously, let's try it. Anyway, I went roller skating one time. I think it was at the Vauxhall in my 20s. And I was so enthusiastic that time, bought a pair of skates and put it in the cupboard somewhere and forgot about them. So it was in a box the whole time. And she goes, what's your problem? You've got a pair of skates that you bought, you've never used. You talked about it occasionally every now and then, but you've never used. So I thought, you know what, you're right. I don't have to buy any skates. I've already got them in a box somewhere. Found the skates, put them on, and then that's how I thought, oh yeah, this is actually quite fun, and it's good to my knees, and I joined the BPS community, and they were really helpful. It basically saved me, because I'm a key worker as well, and we didn't have no lockdown. That's a problem. And in terms of mental health and being a parent of two daughters and having to work, having two jobs, it really helped me to just focus and do what I had to do to get through what I had to get through at the time. I'm really grateful that I've picked it up, and I thought, oh, it was just be a fad, but actually it hasn't. I've even though I'm not that great at it, skating, I'm definitely a square and part skater. But yeah, I'm getting there. I love the dance aspect of it. I think that's the most fun part of it for me.
Ashley, do you want to go?
Yeah, hey, so I'm Ashley. I'm also a Corona roller, I guess. I went a couple of times when I was a kid on inline, and I tried once in Barcelona. In Barcelona, it has been a big thing for a while. And a lot of people use it to commute, so I thought I could, and like fell and sat on the floor and walked back and I flattened up my shoes on. So yeah, and then again lockdown hit, and I started roller skating behind my house when I was living in Haringey, on a road that we called Smooth Road, and I'd
Smooth
go
road.
alone. With one of my friends would sometimes come, but it was a bit of a creepy road, so it'd often just be people hanging out there in vans. And so I was like trying to find groups, and eventually we moved to Elephant Castle. I think I was just walking by the park. I don't even know if I saw Amy. I think Ami's often there. I saw someone and yeah, got chatting, and then realized that it was like a big community group. And yeah, it's kind of just spiraled out of that. And then I guess the link with the film is that I work as a designer for public services, and so this is a project looking more at way people use public space. And yeah, I just think film is a very powerful way of kind of showing people's experiences without kind of drawing too many assumptions. You can kind of place that in front of people and they can kind of take what they make of it. And also people just really enjoy engaging with it. And I think roller skating is such a visual thing. So yeah, that's me.
Sweet.
Love it. Yeah, we touched on all of us touched on emerging from lockdown as a roller skater.
Yeah.
I was on the vulnerable list. So even now I'm still not back at work. But I know Lolly was on the vulnerables for parents and everything and what have you.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people, once they saw the what was it, that you can go outside for exercise rule, took full advantage of it. So for me, Amy, is that when, would you say that was when the Burgess Park skate community kicked off?
Yeah, definitely. When there wasn't no limit to outdoor exercises, I think it helped people breathe. There was a one point, I think it was at the beginning of March, and have you noticed it was the world was totally dead. Everything was just silent, tumbleweed, and
Yeah.
even the animals were apparently were brave enough to like raid the cities and stuff. But yeah, and roller skating kind of it is kind of like an individual thing, independent, but also when you're part of a group, it's a community thing. So people got to socialize. We didn't want to lose, because a lot of people do need that community village sort of connection. We are human beings and we need that community thing. And some people, believe it or not, they couldn't go and travel and see their parents. Some people are living away abroad. Their parents are abroad, so they're completely alone. Some people were in their room by themselves. Or just it was horrendous initially. And working in mental health, I picked up a lot of calls, which worried and sometimes stayed with me. So I can understand for those people who are already vulnerable to be put in that position. It must have been very, 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 very scary. And the thing is, those people who interact with those people have to be strong as well to be able to help people in those positions. So I think for me, it helped me in a way. It was my therapeutic way of helping myself in order to help others. And especially being a parent as well. Schools were closed and you had to like homeschool, but as key workers, we were allowed to let our children in the school, but you were still frightened because it was rampant at that time. And they're worried. They didn't really see most of their friends because some of them couldn't come into work because they lived with vulnerable people. So yeah, it was horrendous, but also it was a kind of blessing because it made you it was, how can I say, is there's a psychological thing for it. Is it sink or swim? Some people
Fight or flight.
Yeah, that sort of thing. You could either use it to strengthen you, or you can use it to pick on your vulnerabilities. And not be able to bounce back. But I found being in the community especially helped me personally, as well as I think helping others. And that's to Craig. Umi Junta was just my, oh my God, when I saw her in those yellow shorts, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. In reality, it was very different. I can tell you that now.
She did something quite.
How does she make it look so easy?
I know.
I can't even stand.
She did something quite special around just kind of showing what what it is to just be lost in the music.
Yes.
Lost in the music, lost in the movement. She wasn't surrounded by skaters, so it looked like, oh, I can do this. This isn't something I have to do with other people. So for people seeing it for the first time who weren't already roller skating, you know, it did everything that people needed to kind of go, oh, maybe me too.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'll try it. But when I did, I was like, oh, okay, how come it's not happening? But I'll get up and try again, eh? And that's the cute beauty about skating. How many times have we fallen and some of us have felt ashamed of falling or didn't want to get up because for whatever reason we were injured? Skating makes it acceptable for you to fall and then get up. You don't count how many times you fall, whether or not you get up. Yeah. And it was a perfect antidote for what we were going through at the time and still going through for a lot of people. So to me, it's been a godsend. It really has.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's really exciting.
Ashley, like, how was it for you?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been aware of like roller skating, skateboarding, surfing, like all these things that I wanted to do. And we had a skate park in my town. There wasn't very much there except for a skate park. I remember like hanging out in the skate park, but never skating. And that was largely just because I never saw women skate. Like it was always like, yeah, very similar kind of men, and just quite a masculine environment. And I think I was just there to kind of like hang out, and I felt really embarrassed about the idea of kind of doing something like that and falling in front of people. So I think for me it was a similar thing where so I've tried surfing and things like that and really enjoyed it. And again, I think it was seeing women in that space and being like, oh, I can try it. And I think with roller skating, it was just like Instagram. And it's been an interesting thing because I think there's been like this strange focus, at least from the press in the UK, where they're like, oh, roller skating revival, which has been a lot of TikToking women, which is true, but there's also roller skating has been around for like ages and lots of people have been doing it for a very long time. But I guess for me, that connected with me like it did with many women. And yeah, I guess it's the same thing. You're like, oh, I could go out on my skates and do this, and I don't necessarily need to be in a skate park. I'd never thought of that. And then I think like it's just quite interesting how it clicked for so many people in that way, like the Corona roller type of like, and I think people have come at it from different reasons. But I guess what has meant that a lot of people have stuck around, and particularly people that aren't very good, because I'm not very good either, is the community aspect. Like it's not really about roller skating for me now, just anyway, like I enjoy it a lot. But it's just the fact that I get to meet so many people around London that I would never have met and hung out with. And then you have that thing in common. And you have an icebreaker then. And yeah, I don't know. I'd never thought that that's what it would bring me to. But yeah, so it's been really, really cool.
Yeah, no, skating has taken me in some strange directions.
Yeah.
Like this. Very strange. Would you say that the TikTok thing made it more accessible for you?
I guess it was just seeing, like they always say, representation, right? And so as soon as I started seeing like women out roller skating, actually also, so there was that, and I kind of enjoyed the TikTok stuff, but I also was like, I want to go to a skate park. I still haven't properly skated in a skate park except for twice, I think. But I also went to Clissold Park, and there's a skater. I don't know if you've ever heard of. She's called Spooky, but she's definitely speak to her at some point. So she's just like she jam skates as well, but she's mainly a ramp skater, and she's often in the bowl in Clissold Park. So it was her and Jess Holland, who's also really, really amazing. And they were the first women I ever seen roller skating in a skate park ever. And so normally I just wouldn't even go near the bowl because I was so scared of it. I just skate next to it. But that day, like, I came up to them and chatted to them and like stood. I didn't skate in the bowl, but I just stood in the skate park, and that was just a really big thing for me, to be down my skates. So yeah, it was in real life as well. I think that kind of prompted it. Yeah.
I think there is something about what you said about standing in the skate park and being there being other people there who other women there who are on roller skates. For me, I was exactly the same. The first time that I went to a bowl, I went to watch. But I wouldn't have gone to watch if there hadn't been women roller skating. I wouldn't have watched skateboarders because I don't skateboard, but
Yeah.
I just watched, and I was watching to sort of will myself to, if they can do that, what are they like? Are they friendly?
Yeah.
Do I have to already be brilliant? Do I have to be able to do a handstand? But actually what I found was, people are doing the same trick for hours because skating is just drilling, whether it's dance, whether it's park, whether it's street skating, it's just the same thing over and over, and learning that footwork and making those muscle memory kind of happen. And it does make it more accessible when somebody actually says hello to you and you don't just feel like a lurker. So then the next time you go back, you feel a bit more like you might be the person to say hello first. And that's why I say hello to everyone when I'm on my skate. I'm a bit too friendly, but it's because I want people to think you can ask me about my skates.
Yeah.
So I think
touching on that, just one thing. So, because I think it's very different with the skate groups in the parks, because that's, and like on the squares, because that's always been very like friendly and open. But I think so. Spooky mentioned what's interesting for her is like, so when she's in the skate park, generally like people don't really come up and say hey, like, oh, that wasn't her experience before, and they also don't explain the rules necessary of like kind of like etiquette and how to be safe. And so she finds that she often has to take that role on, which I find really interesting. And then she also finds like parents leaving kids with her and that sort of stuff. But it's interesting how like I think just by being a woman, one, people assume that you'll be more chatty, which you often are, and then also you kind of end up taking on that role, which is great because I think it opens up to more people. Because it's literally just an icebreaker, isn't it? Like I think all the men skateboarding there are short, like lovely, but it's just scary at first if they don't say hi. So yeah, like it's and it's cool that you're now like, I'll be there to say hi to people, because it's just that I think that gets people in and having a go.
I'm just shy. You won't find me saying hi.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I guess in a skate park there's rules, there's actual etiquette. So if somebody's doesn't understand that, it's quite important to communicate that with them. And generally Spooky has found that she ends up having to be the one, particularly with children. It's just an interesting thing that she's like noticed. But
yeah, for me it's like from a roller disco perspective, it's like normally there's just loud music back when you used to be able to go to roller discos properly, but it was just constantly just like loud music, so like you wouldn't really talk to people. So sometimes like you'd skate with people but you wouldn't even know what their voice is or what have you, or can't even tell that some people like are from a different country or what have you, just based on accent. So for me, like especially like doing this like a talking thing, it's always interesting to hear people's voices that I've probably skated with for like so long, and they're like, oh, that's not how you sounded in my head, kind of thing.
yeah.
It is crazy. But yeah, in terms of like the rolling docks, what is your brief, like, yeah, what is your brief for the places that you pick?
Okay, interesting. So rolling dots, the purpose of it is to understand the rolling places. So the purpose of it is to understand where people are currently skating and their experiences in those places. I initially did it wanting to just look at the experiences of women and other people with marginalized genders. But I think like while that's still like a massive angle, because that's my experience and then that touches on other people's experiences, I think like obviously like so many of the groups have been started by cis men, and like they are very important to those spaces and shaping those spaces. And also I think it's interesting because there are many ways in which people are marginalized, I find, within roller skating, and like their experience of public space is also interesting. So I've kind of followed that thread. And yeah, I'm just kind of going where people are basically. And I do interviews where they normally skate. We do it normally on roller skates as well. And yeah, I kind of just want to see people in their environment and then understand what works and what doesn't work, the constraints that they kind of deal with. And yeah, it's really interesting because we're dealing with quite a lot of constraints but are really chill about it often. And they're just like, well, it's just the way it is. Which is, I found very interesting. I thought people would be a bit more angry about like not having enough space, but I think people are just like going with what they have, which is really cool. But hopefully pushing for more space hopefully in the future for us to ski.
Awesome. Sorry, I just saw Annie's message come up. Yeah, like Lolly.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
It just sounds really cool. It sounds like a really exciting way of documenting what's happening now. There's been these spaces that I have only known about through social media, where there are these communities, doing, what we do, like you say, in car parks, and the constraints are things like, please don't leave your rubbish, because actually we are all really good about putting our rubbish away, and by you leaving your rubbish, you're actually risking quite a large number of people who come on different days to that space. And yet it wouldn't occur to some people that just leaving their rubbish would have such an impact on other people's ability to use that space in the future, because they're working within those constraints with the idea that they're keeping the security guards sweet. We don't, when we come here, we play our music, but we come at this time and we look after the space and we don't get in the way. And I think it's another way of sharing, like the work that you're doing, as well as showing the beauty of it. It's also doing a little bit of what Spooky's doing in the play, in the skate park. It's showing those that come after us what we have to do to be able to skate in the spaces that we skate in, because they're limited.
Yeah, I don't know if Ami's there, but
she said she might have to go, but yeah.
Because in the Burgess chat, there's quite a lot. I think the police came to Vauxhall yesterday, I think.
Yeah. That happens a lot. Yeah, apparently they from one of the very regular frequent skaters there, they said basically the police do come often, a lot these days, and it's not only for the skaters. There's the children that they have these bikes, these humongous bikes, and they do these wheelies, and also the mopeds people that want to learn mopeding. So it's not just the skaters, it's the amount of people that are there at any one time. So if they come and there's only 10 to 15 and they're all spaced out, they won't have a problem. It's when they return and there's over like 500 people in there. Now that is a problem, isn't it? So they disperse people immediately. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard one, because if we had an indoor rink, safe place for everyone to utilize, which was monitored and well kept, we would be more responsible. Because our group alone is about 257 in one group chat, and the other group chat's 210. Now that's a lot of skaters individualized from all over London. You can't police that. You can try and enforce and be polite and but people are going to do what they want to do when they want to do it.
And it's public space, so there are no rules. It's about yeah, go on.
There isn't rules, but there's general etiquette and behavior, mannerism and understanding. That's my point. People, it's each to their own, but within reason, because there's certain things that you wouldn't do in public, just you wouldn't. So because it's a public space, I get that. However, we have to be understanding. We don't have to agree, but we can understand. That's the point I'm coming from. And you, just like your litter, you wouldn't just disperse it anywhere because it's a public area. You're just going to put it anywhere. No, you're going to be more considerate, because you don't want an old deer tripping over it, or just for it going for a stray cat or dog to eat it and choke on it and die. You just have to be considerate. That's the bottom line.
Did you imagine, Ami, when you decided to put your skates on, did you imagine that it would be that it would involve so much more.
No, I didn't think I was going to be classified as a juvenile delinquent. That's how
And
I
a key
felt.
worker and a mum at the same time. That's a lot of hats.
Okay. I didn't know when I put these skates on, I'm instantly going to be classified as this. Wow.
People just kissing their teeth at you because you're on skates.
Yeah, I know. They look at, oh, you're one of them, are you?
Yeah.
That's not civilized. You don't behave like, go over there, sort of thing. That's how sometimes it feels. Sometimes you skate past people and they look at you in admiration. I wish I could actually do that, and I love that because I'm like, I was just like you, Bambi on ice, but look at me now. You can do it too. And sometimes you see others who just turn their nose up at you for wearing skates. We're going to have those people in society. That's why we live in the world that we do. But it's also about educating them. And like you said, approaching them, because the skateboard, you can go to an area where it's predominantly so-called professionals or long-term skaters, and they can look down on beginners. I've seen it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a part of the community that I know Craig and I feel quite strongly about. Well, I won't speak for you, Craig, but I know that we've had
but we've had this discussion
decent
before,
conversations about how gatekeeping in skating just to me feels nonsense. I've got 8 wheels on my feet. I'm not a serious character. I am doing things that other people might deem a bit silly. How can I say no, you can't play? Like, what am I, 5? It's just like
exactly. Or just don't want to be associated. They see you struggling to even stand. They're like, oh God, I want to be near you, sort of thing. I've had that initial at the beginning. So I'm like, right, I'm gonna go away, I'm gonna do my jobs, but come back just for you.
Whereas for me, I've just started teaching just beginners, and I mean like people who've just bought their skates. And that's what I do. I've been really lucky to be asked to do that for a girlfriend of mine who is setting up that stuff. So the women and the men and the children that come to me are Bambi. And it's the same lesson I teach nearly over and over again, which is the first thing I teach is how to fall down. Like, we're going to do this. You're going to get really comfortable with it, because otherwise you're not going to do the rest of it, and you're not going to have fun.
That's so important. First rule should always be how to fall safely, because that's the point. When I got my skates and I thought, oh, I've seen Imogen Tar, I've seen quite a few roller disco stuff with Americans, the cascades, the way they're like, oh, I can do that indoors, no problem, put them on, bam. I fell and I broke my arm. 8 weeks later, I couldn't do anything. So falling is so important. Is so important, and getting your pads as well, your wrist guards, your arm bands, and your knee pads. They are so important, and I think that's what sometimes is missed, because you don't see it a lot.
It's not in the TikTok video, is it?
No. And they're going down a hill. A very steep one. They're like, oh, okay.
Do you think that it's all of these, like, when most people, when we speak about skating, we normally speak about like falling and those type of things, but more as a encouragement to let people know that it's okay, we can get up and we get on. But do you think that the whole idea of falling and hurting, or like tripping over rubbish and what have you, is the reason why like councils and other places that own spaces just want to create that barrier and say, like, you know what, we just don't want to deal with you, we don't want no claims, we don't want no insurance, what have you? So how do we negate that? Does that mean we should stop talking about like falling, or like have to keep saying falling is part of it, and we just get up and get on with it? Anybody?
That's a good point. I was you can't touch on a few things. I think it's kind of counterproductive though, because what they have now is spaces that aren't designed for roller skaters, where we're roller skating, and a lot of people just want to skate on a flat, smooth surface. And they're not finding that, so they're finding themselves in dangerous bits of parks or whatever. They also want a place where there's not a crowd, so if you just put some markings and made it clear that it was for skaters, I think people would less likely walk through it. I do think there's that fear of like so actually when with the Wheels and Wheelchairs group to Kew Gardens, So we were allowed in as skaters. There was 15 of us. And they were like, don't go fast and no skating on your own. And it was just a weird thing that they said to us, as if that's what we were planning on doing. And I was like, they were like, you're more unsafe because you're roller skaters than people on bikes. And I just thought it was an interesting like perception. Even though they were super lovely,
though, isn't it? Is it the perception of I would feel unsafe on roller skates, therefore you must
It's
not
projecting.
you must be doing something, like a bit of projecting.
Yeah.
Because the we know what we're doing. Like in football, people break things. In rugby, people break things themselves, each other. But those are businesses, aren't they? Roller skating doesn't make anybody any money yet.
No,
not big companies necessarily. So maybe there's something to do with the fact that not only that the origins of skating is predominantly not white.
That's what I was going to say, predominantly, because if you look at most of the skate videos, Cascade and even Storm Skater and how the OGs, so-called street skaters, they're all predominantly African Caribbean or London based, and they're all black. And it kind of infuriates me sometimes. It's like, but they're having an avenue of escapism, and it's stopping kids stabbing each other, getting into trouble. You're utilizing your energy into something positive, not only for your mental health, but your body image and the confidence of these young
creativity.
kids. I'm telling you, and it's like, that's not good enough. So they have to be like starving, number one, because most of their parents have got whatever issues and they're on low income already, can't afford it. And hence the reason some of them have had to go out and do what they had to do to eat. And sometimes it's as simple as that. And these and they're trying to stay away from trouble and utilize the energy into just skating. And surely you should be embracing that. You say youth club, you close them all down, and yet there's not one hall that you can provide for them to go in and dance and be active. It really, really sometimes it beggars belief, basically. And the BMX track, as you can see, the person who initially initiated it, he had to work so hard with the council to get it even approved. And I think it's the same thing that's going to happen with the skate community, even though it's a diverse thing. It's the origin of what kind of people are going to be using it predominantly, and why should we be bothered to invest or encourage that sort of behavior. It's like we're typecast and stereotyped already and categorized. Don't want to bother.
People can get in together. Divide and conquer.
Correct.
Large groups of young
black male predominantly. If they see them, that's immediately
having fun.
Laughing. How dare you?
Dancing together. Look, I don't know what is there's so dangerous about that. It's such a
it really, really, it makes you think, but then again, it makes you angry, and then it makes you think, okay, how can we get around this without becoming the aggressive, the typical stereotypical image that they want you to portray in order to get what you need to get. It's like, the situation with Sarah that got killed by the police officer. At the same breath, and you want to talk about, there's the rise in gang violence and stabbing, but what's the root cause? We're not talking and dealing with the root cause. There are no avenues. Marcus Rashford gave a personal testimony of during the summer times and the holidays, he was starving because his mum, even though she had 2 jobs, she couldn't feed him and his brother. It's like you only want to highlight our struggles and feel pity for us and just give us pence and pittance, but not all of us are like that. Some of us work bloody hard and have contributed and built this society from day dot. If you really check the history, you would know that we are not lazy, we're hard workers, we're determined, we're kind, we're loving, we're respectful, You know, I am not your stereotype, or you cannot categorize me, because I am the definition of human being.
Yeah.
Click,
Yeah.
click, click.
Yeah.
Can't even come any stronger than that one.
But you know, that's the root, isn't it? We're talking about the, you know, yeah, we've got the TikTok videos, yeah, we've got Instagram, yeah, we've got, you know, these big skate companies that have different types of skates, but actually the community of skating isn't about that. The community of skating is about having a space where people are safe to be themselves, play their music, and have fun and sweat and
escapism.
let loose,
100%. 100%. Like just getting all the struggles from out of your head, out of your mind, out of your body, like out and express it like through art and
I think it's so interesting, Amy, that you said about immediately that this is your therapy during being a key worker during a global pandemic. This is your therapy, and so many skaters, when they're asked about skating, that's what's kept them. It's not a pastime. It's not a hobby. It is therapy. And that's the bit that seems to be missing in what people understand about what skating is and why it's so vital.
What I find interesting is that during the pandemic, there's been such focus on like mental health and mental well-being, and I'm worried that like as much as we talk about it and say like, oh yeah, well, in this context, like skating is part of like our mental looking after ourselves and mental well-being, that it's not going to make a difference because of other people's perception of like what skaters are, and yeah, even though it's a sort of remedy, well, for me it is, for mental health, it won't make a difference because there's that overriding stereotype of like it's for troublemakers and people that don't have anything else better to do until someone gets paid for it, and then it's like it's a trend, and then it's like
that's
Amy?
what yeah, sorry, I can't. Amy, could you mute?
Oh, sorry.
I know.
Sorry.
Amy, I know you said that like you need to go, so like whenever you need to go, just feel free to say like, oh yeah, like I need to.
Cool. In that case, thank you. I'm over and I'm out. I'm making too much noise. Thank you
for
Craig.
your contribution. No worries. And we
you
will.
too. I've enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
bye.
Nice to meet
you. Yeah, so just continuing with that, and like again, like space, I don't know if Ashley, you've seen any of the films like Roller Dreams or United Skate Stock or Roller Boogie.
Yeah,
for me it's like no matter which one you watch, the themes that run through them are so similar. Have you seen any of them?
yeah, so I watched United Skates first, I think, because it was on Netflix. And I had me crying so much. It's really, really good. And then I've seen a bit of Roller Dreams, but not fully. And then this other one that you mentioned, I put on my list to watch because I haven't actually seen it yet. But yeah, I mean, again, United Skates is fully about the lack of space. And yeah, it touches on that issue of it's not just about roller skating space, it's about space for Black people basically, and how that's always been like pushed away or taken away. And yeah, I think it came out like when that real boom of things were happening on Instagram. And it was very interesting for me because what I've noticed with roller skating is, so there's a lot of white women getting involved in roller skating now, and it's not just white women leading petitions, but there are a lot more petitions towards parks suddenly, and a lot of them are led by white women. And I've spent time, and I've been the same, where we've got really annoyed and we're suddenly like, wait, why is there nowhere for us to roller skate? Having this realization like last summer. And I think for a lot of people, something like United Skates is a really important film to watch, to kind of actually help link that anger that they've got and about a fairly new thing that they're trying to do, and the link between lots of other people that have been trying to do this for a very long time and have not been able to access public space properly. And I guess that's what similarly has happened for me with this film. I think I've just like with the wheelchair group as well, like it's just very interesting. Like generally I think what has made for me roller skating seem like such an inclusive space is a lot of people I think are marginalized in a certain way and recognize and look out for each other, and I don't know, they're just a lot more aware of other people and where they're coming from, because maybe they have had experiences where people haven't understood them. And I think that's just really interesting about roller skating at the minute, and it seems like a lot of people are being brought together because of that. But it's important, I think, that people understand that it's rooted in this Black culture that started roller skating, and that problem still very much persists. So I think films like that are really important.
I think you touched on a good point in terms of as you put it, like white women came and was like, oh well, why can't we have this space? But there's a thing of me as a Black guy, I don't feel confident to be able to go to councils. I know how that's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But the grief and the restriction and the obstruction and everything, like half of the time I just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
So it's like I've spent so long trying to find space and what have you, and I just got thought, you know what, forget it. Like and I'll just skate wherever, even skating for like in car parks. I don't want to do it because it's like I just can't be bothered. Like dealing with like, am I going to get in trouble? Is security going to like? I can't be bothered.
But you still try to find spaces, Craig. You do.
For punishment.
You are, and well, you're not. You're collecting for punishment, but you're also, as much as it's exhausting, as much as you have come up against brick wall. You know, you still, you know, make a decision to have another go at it, because it's worth it when you manage it. It's just so worth it. But it does need more of us.
The acknowledging as well. I think it's great, more petitions, fantastic. But I think what I found interesting, and I was the same, like people didn't necessarily acknowledge that, like people probably been wanting this space for longer than we did in that moment. But I think like Amy touched on, like she doesn't want that stereotype of being angry, and like I think like as a white person you get away with doing that and being like that with councils. And that's why I think we're just seeing a lot more people being very vocal about it. And generally, and this is not the case for everybody, but I found with interviews is that with a lot of the new white skaters, they complain a lot about spaces and being lack of. And then with a lot of skaters that I've met that had skated before, that tend to be people of color, they're like, well, we just make what we can out of the situation. And I found it very interesting, like this split in mindset of people being like, well, I should have a stake in public space, I deserve that, versus people being like, well, I'm just making what I can out of this situation because so many times I've had it taken away from me. And I think people need to recognize that this kind of struggle for public space is not new. And it's not just a women's issue as well. I think that's something that's really stood out for me. It's not just an issue for women in public space. That is a large part of it, but there are other people that are also not welcome or not able to access space because of other reasons. And they overlap, and I need to think about that all. But also, you've carved out a space on the internet with your podcast.
Me? I'm trying.
No, I mean
when the internet works.
You just made me think. I was like, well, this is a skating space. Like this podcast that you created is that. So that's really cool.
I think doing it it's important to hear voices from all sides so that we can all understand each other, and it's just like not about one type of person or what have you. We're all like united by, like I said, mental health. We all have mental health, whether it's like the negative side or the positive side. Most of us skate for, and I think it's pretty fair to say that everybody skates too, for freedom of expression and to be able to like, just like get from out of their head and into the world. For a lot of black people, like you say, like during the pandemic, I had quite a few people even like complaining to me and saying like, what's wrong with all these people down in London, like why are they meeting up and skating? And it's like, you have to understand that like for them every day is a struggle to find space, so that opportunity is there to go out and find space. They're just going to take it. It doesn't matter whether it's a car park or what have you. You get to a point where I'm quite patient, but like most people are just fed up of not being able to skate somewhere, so as soon as they see a spot they will take it, which is fair enough. I get it. It's not for me to judge. People are doing it for their mental health and mental well-being, and that's all it boils down to as far as I'm concerned. So everybody for themselves.
Yeah, but it is everyone for themselves. But I guess with roller skating, it doesn't work without community. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. When are you looking to release your film, your doc?
Dun dun dun.
Wait, what
pressure, Ashley?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the start of it, but I put it up. Yeah, no. Well, I finished this project end of next month, but we'll see if I manage to get it done by then. I have to technically. I think I just keep meeting new people as I've embarked on this.
Cool.
And so I just want to make sure that I've got a good representation of roller skaters and the different kinds and everyone. But yeah, I think by end of July, start of August, it should start to have it put together. I don't know how we're going to release it and stuff. I'm doing it through like an organization, like they're not really a film platform. So I'm going to work out where and how. But yeah, it's all very new. This for me. I don't normally do film. This is very new, this whole process.
What do you hope to come from it?
I guess, I mean, similar. So like, I think that recent short doc, that Storm Skater did, and it was literally like, I think she touched on it amazing. Like she was just like, we just need to showcase roller skating and how good it is for many people and just for a city. And hopefully with that sort of like kind of light that's been shown, and I know it's been shown many times, but I guess a lot of them have come from the States, those sorts of documentaries. Equally though, so this is an organization that actually actively tries to influence policy around active travel and public space. So I think that they will hopefully write some recommendations off the back of it. So that could be like quite a tangible thing, hopefully that will come out of it. But yeah, I think like Storm Skater said, I think it's just like highlighting it and highlighting the nuances of skating and it being way more than just like the act of roller skating and a nuisance for people, because it's really not what it is about. So yeah.
Best of luck with it. So exciting.
Thanks very much. Thanks. So this podcast is great. I really enjoyed
it. Hopefully it's saved. It
says recording.
It says it's recording and it's recording to the cloud. So like,
it'll be good.
Internet willing.
I think talking about the documentaries that we know, like the kind of the two specific ones that, you know, United Skates and Roller Dreams they're human. I mean, I know all documentaries are, you know, they have their main people, but because they follow the reality of what skating means to people, what skating does for people, and the battle that has been fought against the authority that is trying to shut that down. Both of those documentaries, one is about the rink culture in America and the shutting down of rinks, United Skates, and the other one is about the Venice space that was literally destroyed. and then remade differently. And I think that they're quite shocking films. I think for people,
I cried when I saw Roller Dreams.
Yeah, I think for people who don't know anything about skating, who would watch them, would be quite sort of horrified at what is essentially such a benign, exquisite thing to be seen as being so dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, groups of people having a good time together, people of color, Black people, that is felt to be so dangerous. I know that that's in the United States, but I don't know necessarily that experience is not felt when, I mean, Craig and I've had a conversation where I said, oh, do you remember that car park we went to? Should we go and skate there? And Craig was like, yeah. So let's break that down, Sarah Jane. Let's break that down. Because the reality was, I might be able to go there and bat my eyelids and be like, oh, really? I'm not allowed to be here. But the likelihood is not that Craig's not going to get away with batting his eyelids at the security guard necessarily. And it's the same thing that you were talking about before. It's our experiences in spaces where we're not welcome, how we're treated when we're asked to leave is very different. Or how we're made to feel when somebody has decided that we're not allowed to be there is very different. And I think that those two documentaries are deeply, deeply moving for anyone who is trying to understand, well, how come there's no rinks? How come there are no spaces? You know, it's such a complex set of difficult questions that but it has a really simple root answer. So
I think
go on.
The thing that a lot of people also think is that it's just a Black thing. So like watching like Roller Dreams. If you watch it, there's when we're skating, we don't necessarily care like what color or culture that anybody's like from. We're just skating with you. If you can skate, you can skate, and like if you can't skate, we're gonna try and help you to skate, and that's it. But then it's everybody outside of that wants to try and destroy it, and I don't know what it is. Whether it's like that's not fair. I can't. I want to be able to do it, and I shouldn't be able to do it, or I can't do it and I want to be able to do it. Or whether it's I just don't know whether it's just so primitive that it will always have that element. Do you get what I mean? We don't care. So why does it have to go the opposite way round? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I think there's like, even in some cases it's literally about more.
Oh,
I thought you.
Oh, that was such a good cliffhanger.
I know.
And, we'll be back next week. Craig will be telling us the vital piece of information. We have this. This happens when we have the podcast. Is that just the internet isn't always on our side. What were you going to say, Ashley, while we wait for Craig to rejoin us?
Yeah, I guess because I think it is people have stereotypes in the head. But so like on the flip side, so Spooky was in skating in Granary Square.
Yeah.
And
you're on mute, babes. You're on.
It tried to cut me off.
It did, and it was brilliant. It was on this cliffhanger. You went,
yeah.
It's more.
I
know.
Yeah, no, it was more about class, is what I was saying. It's not necessarily about color of skin. It's like most people. It's realistically a free activity that like you can, if you need to go inside, then obviously you have to pay for it to hire the space. But like to skate outside, it's free once you've got your skates. And it's, for me, it feels more like a class war of like who are you to be rolling around and doing this? So even watching
having
like
such a
roller
bloody
boogie,
good time. Yeah.
even like watching roller boogie, the majority of the cast is white.
Yeah.
And they still experience the same kind of things and constantly being called troublemakers throughout the whole film. So it's more about what is it, why is having 8 wheels on your feet and being more free and in control and like just able to just express yourself, why is that a crime?
But I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's the freedom. This idea, freedom has always been contentious. It's always been something that makes people uncomfortable. Why are you not doing things the way that we're doing them? You're deviating. We don't know how to put you in a box because you're not, there isn't a federation attached to like there is with football. Like I know I keep referring to football. It's just that we put a huge amount of money into football. and anyway, you were going to say something, Ashley.
Also I never thought of comparing it to football, because so I often talk about this idea of like roller skating being anti-capitalist and like that's why cities don't make space, but actually they made so much space for football and a lot of the time that's pretty free. So that actually doesn't make any sense.
But it makes a lot of money. Like I think there is,
it's the national game.
There is so much money associated with football,
so they allow it.
And so again, it's that capitalist.
And that's what happened with skateboarding as well, I guess. Like it's become a brand identity thing now, and it makes money in that way.
I also see a lot of roller skating now in advertising, like
and that's starting.
And what have you, and it's like, oh, there's a trend, like come on, like,
it's on its way. It's definitely on its way. So it's interesting to watch that happen. And I guess as a result, I think you do get space on the sides, but even that can be quite commercial. The thing I was going to say, just because you hit on again, I think it comes back to representation. Like I think like people have an idea about what people on roller skates are like, and that's incorrect often. That they're going to be a danger to you. It's definitely not the case. But like on a funnier note, so Spooky was roller skating in Granary Square, and that's another thing around fake public spaces. So like spaces in London that look public, and then a security guard pops out and tells you can't. You actually can't. So she was roller skating with a friend, and someone came up to her and was basically like, you can't really roller skate here. But because they were 2 women, he was kind of like, well, as long as you just don't do any tricks, then you can skate. And obviously they're both like ramp skaters, so they were like, ha, okay, like jumping on everything, like bye. But again, it's because you're not used to seeing like women on roller skates, or people actually on roller skates. It's not as in the don't see people doing tricks on roller skates as often. So they have an assumption about what you're going to act like, which I think like with more representation, I hope that people start to understand it better. But I still think there's like a lot we need to do to get to that point. And it's a long way.
I think there's also a lot of responsibility to, if these larger companies are going to highlight roller skating and have roller skaters, the way that you have them in the adverts is also going to influence how people see skaters. So for example, if you have like a bunch of skaters advertising clothes, and then they're, like you say, just jumping off curbs and ramps and everything and what have you, then subconsciously people are just going to be like, oh yeah, they're on wheels, I know what they do. Do you get what I mean?
But that's what Roller Dreams.
Go on.
That's what Roller Dreams does when it shows the line dances, the precision, and the huge crowds of people coming to watch the spectacle of this, highly skilled, highly choreographed piece, this thing. I would love to see much more of that. You know, we have when people decide to suddenly do a dance, what is that thing people do when they all dance at the same time? Like a flash thing.
Oh,
like if we did something like that on skates, people would have a heart attack.
Can we orchestrate that?
There's an assumption that
the
you are
biggest skate
unsafe.
candy in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah,
everybody just roll
the
to
assumption
Trafalgar
is
Square
that you're not in control of your skates, that you can't stop, that you are dangerous, rather than it's been ages learning to stop.
Yeah.
Like, we can stop.
Yeah. I think what makes
I think
what
the
makes
next
it
thing
dangerous
that I think the next thing that the London Mayor's gonna do is probably doing like skate hire, that you can like pick up skates at the
like
docking station.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So then your skates will be illegal unless you hire them from like.
Oh no, that's not amazing.
Yeah,
and they'll be really heavy.
Yeah.
That'd be really bad. That'd be so bad. I was just gonna say what makes skating dangerous for me is scared people.
Yeah.
When they see you, they're often terrified,
Unpredictable.
and then they do weird stuff. That tends to make me, I don't know, they're just scared, aren't
Make
they?
a decision, go left,
Stevie
all right,
Wonder.
I can get past you.
But that can also happen cycling, less so obviously, but that also, I think, like, even on cycling, like, isn't it just a thing, like with cycling as well, people don't always love you because you're on wheels. I don't know, it's a strange...
No, I think that's true. I currently teach on a little bit of cycle path because it's the best bit of pavement that I can find near where I live. So most of my job is the person who's doing, you know, who I'm showing stuff to. I'm like, I'm in charge of bikes. You're fine. And then every bike that comes past in that typical, I'm like, hello. You. And they sort of go, okay. But I'm just trying to sort of build this thing of this. I know this is your space.
Yeah,
I know that the cycle path is your space.
Yeah.
And I know that you probably don't think we belong here. So, but I'm being careful.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I have on my side, I am naturally a people pleaser, and I can bat my eyelids and big smile and use my very middle class voice to say, awfully sorry to be in the way here, or really put it on or whatever. And you know, that is on my side. Whereas I know that for other skaters, who maybe don't even want to do that much work, you know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But there's a thing of, you shouldn't have to do that to share that space. But because I don't want to be kicked off that space, I don't want there to be complaints to the local council about the roller skater that's using the skate park. I'm using the cycle path. I'm doing that. It feels easier to put all that work in so that no one complains.
Yeah.
I did going back to like Burgess Park stuff. They're supposed to be redeveloping the space outside the BMX track.
Okay.
And they wanted to do the plans show a skate park. So obviously that's ramps and everything and what have you. But then there's nowhere for the people who are using that space at the moment to be able to use that space.
And they don't use ramps.
I put in the petition and said, signed the petition and sent an email and said, like, cool if you want to do that, but like also be mindful that like there is a space that is also required for the community that is there, and for people who are on wheels but they just want a flat surface. Maybe put a covering over the top and like put some drainage or what have you, so when the rain comes it just flows off and everything. And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you soon.
Yeah, have they because I thought initially it was a skate bowl. So I think initially it was like, because it was like this BMX track and they were like, we want a world-class skate bowl next to it, which is like a really extreme form of roller skating. Which is not what majority majority of people don't do that. And I was speaking with my friends who works in like active travel, because he was like, oh well, it's important to provide those facilities so that people can access like world-class level stuff. And I was like, yeah, but like that, it's literally pushing out a whole group of people that are currently using that space, and some of them may also go into world-class roller skating as a result anyway. But yeah, I've not had much else on the consultation. I don't know where they're at with it. I don't mean they didn't expect that the community to be there, so I think they're a bit like, oh, okay. So hopefully they'll make space for everyone.
I did get invited to a Zoom meeting about it, and I was like,
oh nice.
Okay, yeah, cool, let me know. I think that's 2 months ago. So when I emailed and I said, oh, like, is this still happening? I got an email back saying like I do have other emails to respond to, you know. I was like, okay.
Okay.
All right,
Another 2 months.
Yeah. So, no, I just wanted to check I haven't missed the email and that it's gone into junk or something. It was just a reasonable question. It's like, I've just come back from holiday. It's like 300 emails.
I think it's really disappointing for the it not to be about who is using this space. It just doesn't make any sense to Ashley, what were you going to say?
No, because you just made it touch on to something else I wanted to mention about adult play space, because I think a lot of local authorities are trying to make more space for people, and the BMX track came, I think, from the adults, the parents of the kids using the BMX. So they had it in their head that kids would be using this skate bowl, and then a bunch of adults crashed the first consultation and like, please skate. And I think the same is happening in Crystal Park, where there's like a they want to make a little water park thingy for kids. But everyone was like, oh, the alternative for adults was an outdoor gym. Like, that's as creative as they can think for adults. So there's something as well around just local authorities not having a clue around adults using public space recreationally, except for tennis.
That's the thing then, isn't it? We come back to this idea of, why are you having fun? Like you're adults, like you know, it has to be a team sport, and it has
or in the pub,
or you have to drink. You know, it's
but is that a bigger thing, like, considering it's Camberwell Arts, of the arts sector? Because like if you think about like during the pandemic and the way that like the arts were funded, it's like as much as they need all the designers to like print all their little 2 meters away stickers and all of this type of stuff, it's like you're using the arts and having singers and musicians like all keep the nation's spirits up, but then like in order to fund them to do that, it's like silly. That's like, it's only children draw for argument's sake in terms of art.
And then there was the whole retraining thing, this idea that oh, you've spent your life learning to play this instrument, you should now do a completely different job. So it is that it's play, it's this idea of things that we are all supposed to grow up and get in our boxes. And then we're all supposed to have children. This is probably irrelevant.
No, it's not.
Personal thing, but we're all supposed to have children, and then we need spaces for them. We don't need spaces
but not
for us.
Yeah, it's not. But hitting on the arts thing, and like, I guess similarly with roller skating, what's happening with skateboarding is like, they don't want to make space for it. They don't really want to make space for that culture and community, but then that culture sells. So it's like, get out of it and plop it onto like adverts. But then they don't want to actively create a space, which it needs to be a free space where it can kind of grow organically, because that's where like real culture comes from. And it's just very like annoying, because they need it to sell things, and also that's what people want at the end of the day.
But then maybe that's the way in.
Always the first thing that they're going to use to promote their dry boring policies.
Maybe the thing should be, every company that has used a roller skater to sell their product has to back up and put money into a flat space for dance skating. You know,
that would be very cool.
You know, you've taken from the culture. What are you now going to give back?
That would be awesome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll see. There's also, I mean,
it's very easy to say that from my living room, obviously.
yeah, no, that would be amazing. But there's also so much unused flat space, basically, which is being used not necessarily for always very sociable reasons, because they're like dark and like not very feeling very safe. So I think like, I guess like another, like from another perspective, like culture and community makes cities safer and nicer. And again, like skateboarding, there's been lots documenting like actual skateboarding places being linked to gentrification, and how like once that starts to kind of hit off that sort of culture, generally then that becomes more desirable to developers and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know, I guess it'd be cool if cities utilize that in a more sustainable way, where that's fed back into the communities that we're profiting off. But that's definitely not the case with so many things in London.
We've been seeing a lot more pedestrianized areas.
Yeah.
So, you know, it would be really interesting to say, okay, you know, what was it about Venice Beach that was so exciting?
Yeah.
It was coming down and seeing people in Roller Dreams. It was seeing people skating who were self-taught, who just went there every weekend and they did their thing. Like, you know, that's a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it. There's ways of being creative. We've got so many different types of skaters, so many different aspects to the community, that I'm sure some of those skaters would be comfortable skating in what is a pedestrianized area if they were paid as part of this is the culture of London. Come and see London.
Hyde Park is just as world renowned as a skate place as Venice Beach.
Yeah,
and
there you
like,
go.
Even at Hyde Park, it's like you can't really, you get shifted and moved. You just moved around, and it's like, oh yeah, well, come on now, there's too much of you or whatever.
So
And
city
that's just
planning
outside of Corona.
City planning is the way, like that's the part of it that needs to listen.
But I think so. I just want to do a little plug for Ray is doing a skate park, more for skateboard, but it's also roller skaters, and it's meant to be like a beginner queer friendly space, and they're just really struggling because they don't have funding.
But they would, because they've been teaching in Walthamstow, haven't they?
Yeah,
Lloyd,
they've been
in Lloyd Park, little kids.
Yeah, skateboarding. But just what's been really interesting is just like the struggle that they are encountering in just trying to carve out a little piece of land for this. And they're building it on a piece of land that's going to be developed on not, I think, for like at least a couple of years, which is, I've seen a lot of community like pop-ups that tends to happen, doesn't it? And then eventually they build in it. But I think as well, linking back to like Burgess, like I think they need to work out a way to like work with people within the community, give them the money because they know what people need and want, and they will maintain it. But there's not really much funding out there for that sort of stuff, or it's difficult to access and difficult to find. I think like it's not just about the city being like, let's build a skate bowl because we know what skaters want. It's about giving money to skaters because they know what they want. So
while you're plugging, a big shout out to Theatre Peckham for allowing us to randomly skate through their hallway when we're doing events and what have you. So hopefully we should be doing something with Theatre Peckham soon, skate wise.
I'm so excited.
But yeah, like Corona, what is it? Corona pending? Corona
pending work.
whatever variant decides to, whatever letter that we get down to.
And we've got, you remember we had Starlight Express. You know, we had Starlight Express in London it ran for years and years and years before it went to Germany. You know, we do have, there is so much that connects the art scene to the jam skating scene. There are ways that these things could align, and maybe thanks to the Corona rollers, thanks to all of those skaters who have found the community during lockdown, maybe there will be more crossover. You know, this is a great example. Camberwell Arts, you know, giving this space
Yeah, definitely.
this conversation, you know, maybe this is the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really cool.
That feels like a nice way to end it.
Tried it all up.
I know, right?
Right, all sorted then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have my tea.
You could Campbell on that.
So yeah, where are people skating next? Is normally how I wrap it up.
I might try the car park tomorrow.
Which one? Vauxhall?
Vauxhall, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of people been talking about it not
Yeah.
being good. Might try it. But
It
that's
should be good.
likely in a
Good
car
weather.
park somewhere because it's raining.
It's raining. So yeah, all you town planners, even if it's outside space, it needs to be covered.
There's a
We
roof.
need a roof, please.
Ray has built a roof to the skate park. They've still got many other things to
Nice.
build, but there's a roof. So that's
Nice.
pretty cool.
Nice.
That's
Like
the
a
beginning of
outdoor
the best things
awning.
you could do.
Yeah.
Where are you skating next,
Me?
Craig? Yeah.
So my friend Janset, she's actually releasing her single, Oh Yes, tomorrow, which is Friday, the 18th. So yeah, she's releasing that, and I love the tune. I had a preview of it a few weeks ago and what have you. So it's been in my head, and it's like I'm gonna skate to that. So there's a preview video at Janset Music on Instagram. I've hijacked it, and I'm gonna skate outside my front door, or I might go down to Tower Bridge and just have a little jam there in the middle of the night.
That sounds
Weather pending.
amazing.
So,
Yeah,
Wicked.
that sounds so good.
weather pending. So yeah, outside my front balcony is yeah, kind of rain proof. There's a little spot where the water just drains away and doesn't, so I can jam in a spot.
Nice.
Other than that, don't know. Probably whenever our next destination skate is, right?
It's not long now. It's literally weeks.
Yeah.
I've just got to sort out the
4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Airbnb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you
skating.
going?
Where are we going, Craig?
Devon.
Devon.
But you're skating to Devon, or you're going to Devon and
No, we're going to use the
We're
car.
going to Devon skate.
Sorry, because the wheelchair group, they skate miles.
Yeah,
I
they do.
skated
They
from
do marathons. Yeah.
East Ham, where I am now, to Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not ready for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do marathons. They would do 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Sorry, I've got it in my
um,
head that everyone does that now.
yeah, no. So
Yeah,
my
we're going to
friend,
skate to Devon.
my
No.
friend Sal, who is in a wheelchair, we was actually going to do, with wheel and wheelchairs. We was actually going to do a London to Paris skate.
Amazing.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, health and everything, like, it didn't happen. So not even corona based,
fair.
but yeah, it just
Yeah.
didn't happen. But yeah, we've skated with wheels and wheelchairs a
Nice.
few times in Battersea.
Nice. Yeah.
Love it.
I don't like the long distance. I was like,
I don't mind the
park
long
skater.
distance, but it's like
Yeah.
as long as it comes back in a circle, because some of them are just like one route and then it's like find your own way home.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, I'm right.
No, thank you.
Where are you skating next, Lolly?
I think my next will be Sunday. I've got fresh meat derby training, 12 till 2,
Ooh,
which I'm
wow.
really enjoying.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
It'll be
Is it
fun.
intense?
Yeah, it's with I Live Skating,
Okay.
who I'm coaching for. It just happens to be happening in the same place where I do the kids class, and I wasn't even intending to do it, but the coach is the sort of person I'd probably do anything that they asked me to do.
Nice.
It's like, oh, I don't want to do derby. I don't want to be a derby player. She said, we don't have to be a derby player. You could be a referee. And I was like, oh,
okay.
so now I'm doing derby training.
Yeah, the
She's
training I
wonderful.
feel.
She's just somebody who, she's a coach. She's just somebody who you go,
Wow. Okay, coach. But the training I feel makes you a better skater. Like all the derby skaters are fearless.
Yeah.
Like they just do all the moves.
Those stops, boy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to
So
learn stops
exciting.
like that.
Derby
Yeah.
stops and artistic spins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Live life.
Absolutely. Like a whole, that's what I love about, I just love about the community, is that there's all these different pockets and they're doing stuff a little bit differently, and I just a bit like, oh, I want to know how to do that and that.
Yeah.
And
That's what makes us creative and unique.
Mic drop, literally.
Literally. Oh dear. With that note, I'm gonna sign out. So thank you to Amy from Burgess Park Community Skate Group. Thank you, Ashley. We look forward to seeing your rolling places documentary.
Not very it's not very slick, is it? Rolling places, but it's still not that slick. But anyways.
No, but it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, I skate space, but it sounds like a video game. So
rolling spaces is good.
Rolling spaces.
Rolling places.
Or even rolling places. I mean, that's good too.
It's like going places, but like rolling. Anyway, cool.
Yeah, when it drops, let us know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you to my co-hostess over Rolly. Yeah,
it's been great.
It's all good. So yeah, thank you, Camberwell Arts. Hope you get something from this, and hopefully we will be skating with you at some time soon.
Yes.
So, laters. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
And then I'm just gonna press stop.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.